Week 19 Day 1. Megalomania. Abnormal desire for wealth and power. Since Hitler's megalomania was a veneer for his insecurity and feelings of inferiority, since megalomania now knew an unnaturally great desire for power and control, or the belief that you are very much more important and powerful than you really are. Megalomaniac noun. See a person with megalomania. Megalomaniac adjective, before noun. Also megalomaniacal. Profligate. Wasteful sense with a singular disregard for his family. The profligate husband spent his salary on alcohol. Profligate adjective. Am wasting something, esp. Money. Profligate spending. Strife. Discord versus concord. Disagreement. Since each spouse said that the other was culpable, guilty for their conjugal strife. Since strife noun. New formal. Violent or angry disagreement. What are the prospects for overcoming the strife between the Christian minority and Muslim majority? 20 years of civil strife have left the country's economy in ruins. Legion. Large number. Since the number of my followers is legion, said the flamboyant showy politician. Since legion. Soldiers. Noun. See a large group of soldiers who form a part of an army, especially the ancient Roman army. Caesar's legions marched through France and crossed into Britain. Since legion. Many. Adjective after verb. Formal. Very large in number. The difficulties surrounding the court case are legion. Legions. Plural noun. Legions of sp. Large numbers of people. He failed to turn up for the concert, disappointing the legions of fans waiting outside. Coup. Revolution. Since the necessity for executing the leaders of the abortive coup was obviated. Avoid, eliminate when they committed suicide. Since coup noun. See an unexpectedly successful achievement. It was a tremendous coup for the local paper to get an exclusive interview with Prince Charles. I got him to come to a party, which was something off the coup. Sense coup d'etat. Noun. See plural. Coups d'etat. A sudden, illegal, often violent, taking of government power, especially by part of an army. A military coup. To play possum, to try to fool someone, to make believe one is asleep or dead. Since sensing that his life was in jeopardy, the hunter played possum until the voracious, eager, greedy lion disappeared. Trouble in Ruritania. King Andrei of Ruritania was afflicted with megalomania, and the people of his country suffered as a result. After 10 years of his profligate rule, the treasury was bankrupt, unemployment was rampant, domestic strife was mounting, and the number of the king's opponents, who were incarcerated jailed, were legion. Following a bloodless coup, his nephew, Prince Hubert, took command of the poor nation. Week 19 Day 2. Amnesty. A general pardon. Since we recognized the dictator's amnesty as an obvious feint that would be withdrawn after Christmas. Since amnesty. Since noun. 1. See or you. A decision by a government that allows political prisoners to be free. Most political prisoners were freed under the terms of the amnesty. 2. See usually singular. A fixed period of time during which people are not punished for committing a particular crime. People who hand in illegal weapons will not be prosecuted during the amnesty. The government refused to declare an amnesty for people who had not paid the disputed tax. Expatriate. In exile. Since the itinerant nomadic poet, living abroad for 20 years, was a voluntary expatriate. Expatriate. Noun. See informal expat. Someone who does not live in their own country. A large community of expatriates has settled there. Expatriate adjective. An expatriate. Scott. Expatriate verb. T. Formal, to use force or law to remove someone from their own country. The new leaders expatriated the ruling family. Exonerate, to feel from guilt. Sense when the jury began to deliberate, they were prepared to exonerate the culprit. Sense exonerate verb. T. Formal, to show or state that someone or something is not guilty of something. The report exonerated the crew from all responsibility for the collision. Exoneration. Noun. New formal. Fiat. In official order, a decree. Since one cannot govern by fiat, the sedentary and active mayor quickly learned, it is necessary to get out and meet the citizens, if you want their cooperation. Since fiat. Noun. See or you. Formal. Null. An order given by a person in authority. No company can set industry standards by fiat. Mendacious. Lying, untrue. Since the publisher's mendacious claims led to a myriad large number of lawsuits. Since mendacious adjective. Formal. Not truthful. Some of these statements are misleading and some downright mendacious. Mendacity. Noun. New formal. The act of not telling the truth. Politicians are often accused of mendacity. It's an ill wind that blows nobody good. Someone usually benefits from another person's misfortune. Sense when the star quarterback broke his leg, the coach gave the rookie his big chance and the youngster made good. The coach mumbled, "It's an ill wind." Prince Hubert in action. Prince Hubert's first move was to declare an amnesty for political prisoners, and to invite home all Ruritanian expatriates. Those who had been jailed on false charges were exonerated by special tribunals. The young leader announced that he would abrogate all of the oppressive fiats that his predecessor had promulgated. Things began to look up temporarily for the citizens who perceived in Prince Hubert the sincerity, idealism, and honesty that had been lacking in the mendacious King Andrei. Week 19 Day 3. Parsimonious sense. Unless my boss modifies his parsimonious attitude, a fractious, irritate, hasty picket line is going to be erected. Sense parsimonious adjective formal disapproving, not willing to spend money or give something, she's too parsimonious to heat the house properly. Figurative, I think that politicians are often rather parsimonious with the do not tell the complete truth. Parsimoniously adverb formal disapproving nil parsimony noun formal disapproving pecuniary financial sense. Clarence Day deemed that pecuniary matters are best handled by man. Sense pecuniary adjective formal relating to money, pecuniary interest loss benefit. A pecuniary matter dismantled to strip of covering, take apart. Sense I plan to dismantle the stereo set and clean all the components. Sense dismantle verb 1 I or T, to take a machine apart, or to come apart into separate pieces. She dismantled the washing machine, to see what the problem was, but couldn't put it back together again. The good thing about the bike is that it dismantles, if you want to put it in the back of the car. 2T to get rid of a system or organization, usually over a period of time. Unions accused the government of dismantling the National Health Service. Sumptuous lavish sense the sumptuous feast was prepared with impeccable faultless care. Sense sumptuous adjective luxurious and showing wealth. The celebrity guests turned up dressed in sumptuous evening gowns. Sumptuously adverb underwrite agree to finance. Sense Clarence Day deemed that pecuniary matters are best handled by man. Sense underwrite verb T underwrote, underwritten one. If a bank or other organization underwrites an activity, it gives it financial support and takes responsibility for paying any costs if it fails. 2 Specialized, if a company underwrites an insurance policy, someone's property, etc., they have an agreement to pay out money in cases of damage or loss. Underwriter noun C to know the ropes, to be fully acquainted with the procedure. Sense the president of the senior class knew the ropes and quickly taught me my duties. Reform movement in order to improve Ruritania's financial position. An astute but parsimonious treasurer was installed and given wide pecuniary powers. He tried to get the little country back on its feet, by slashing all waste from its budget, dismantling King Andrei's sumptuous palaces, and firing all incompetents. In addition, Prince Hubert was able to get the United States to underwrite a substantial loan that would enable him to start a program of public works. Even so, Ruritania was still in desperate trouble. Week 19 Day 4. Restrictive harsh, confining sense the rebel's innate natural, inborn hatred of restrictive decrees led him to crave eager freedom. All the more sense restrict verb T, to limit the movements or actions of someone, or to limit something and reduce its size, or prevent it from increasing. Measures to restrict the sale of alcohol. The government has restricted freedom of movement into and out of the country. Having small children really restricts your social life. See also restrict to. Restricted adjective 1 limited, especially by official rules, laws, etc. Building in this area of town is restricted. Membership is restricted to it is only for chief executive officers. Our view of the stage was restricted. Objects prevented us from seeing the whole stage. 2 describes an area, which you need official permission to enter because the authorities want to keep it secret, or because it is considered dangerous. Wellington Barracks is a restricted area and anyone who enters should have identification. 3 describes a document, which you need official permission to read because the authorities want to keep it secret. Restriction noun C or U import-export currency restrictions. Speed parking restrictions. At the turn of the century, Congress placed a height restriction of 13 stories on all buildings in Washington. The president urged other countries to lift the trade restrictions. Restrictive sense adjective often disapproving limiting the freedom of someone or preventing something from growing. He is self-employed because he finds working for other people too restrictive. the college is not able to expand because of restrictive planning laws. Balked to refuse to move since Jimmy was a lawbreaker, but he would balk at the idea of carrying a lethal weapon. No sense balk be unwilling, book verb I to be unwilling to do something, or to allow something to happen. I balked at the prospect of spending 4 hours on a train with him since balk would noun see also book a rough thick piece of wood blunt plain spoken since a string of caustic epithets was directed at the recruit by his blunt sergeant since blunt not sharp adjective describes a pencil, knife, etc. that is not sharp, and therefore not able to write, cut, etc. well. Blunt verb T1 to make something less sharp 2, to make a feeling less strong. My recent bad experience has rather blunted my enthusiasm for travel since blunt rude adjective saying what you think without trying to be polite or caring about other people's feelings. I'll be blunt, that last piece of work you did was terrible. Bluntly adverb she told me bluntly that I should lose weight. To put it bluntly, I can't afford it. Bluntness noun nostalgia yearning for the past sense, although the former farm girl pretended to be urbane civilized. A feeling of nostalgia always came over her, when she heard country music since nostalgia noun you a feeling of pleasure and sometimes slight sadness at the same time, as you think about things that happened in the past. Some people feel nostalgia for their school days. Hearing that tune again filled him with nostalgia. A wave sudden strong feeling of nostalgia nostalgic adjective talking about our old family holidays has made me feel quite nostalgic. We'll take a nostalgic look at the musical hits of the 60s. Nostalgically adverb, to look back talk think nostalgically rife widespread sense criticism of the author was rife among the coterie small group of intellectuals, who used to praise him since rife adjective after verb formal 1, if something unpleasant is rife, it is very common or frequent. Dysentery and malaria are rife in the refugee camps. 2 rife with sth full of something unpleasant. The office was rife with rumors. Behind the 8 ball in trouble since Susan found herself behind the 8 ball in chemistry, when she failed to do the term project. Disappointment and dedication when Prince Hubert asked for additional restrictive measures, the people began to balk. Speaking on radio, the young reformer explained the reasons for higher taxes and food rationing. He was blunt when he stated the need for personal sacrifices. Nevertheless, the resistance to reform was great, and nostalgia for the good old days of King Andrei began to grow. The people had admitted that graft and corruption had been rife under Andrei, but at least everybody got his slice of the pie. Although Prince Hubert was tempted to quit, he determined that he would help the people in spite of themselves. Week 19 Day 5. Ogopogo Canada's Loch Ness Monster. Accounts of supersized creatures, such as the Loch Ness Monster and the abominable hateful snowman, are legion. Despite the lack of hard evidence, some people continue to believe that the depths of our lakes and isolated mountain caves remain the dwelling places of fantasy figures. Now, a new star for the credulous has surfaced. Japanese television was asked to underwrite a search for Ogopogo, a long-necked reptilian creature said to inhabit Lake Okanagan in the mountains of south-central British Columbia. Ogopogo stories are rife in that area, as people produce photos of rippling water and shadows resembling an enormous serpent with flippers slowly in large circles. Those who balk at what they regard as nonsense and pagan superstition are quite blunt in belittling Ogopogo fans. Nevertheless, the legends, which have a life of their own, happily, have brought thousands of tourists and business to the Okanagan Valley. Recognition of the creature now exists in British Columbia's environmental law, which provides protection for Ogopogo. The official description reads, an animal in Okanagan Lake, other than a sturgeon, that is more than 3 meters in length, and the mates or offspring of that animal. Been wondering about the creature's name? Ogopogo comes from an English music hall song. His mother was an earwig, his father was a whale, a little bit of head and hardly any tail, and Ogopogo was his name.